I want to give the people a bit of an introduction. So good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us and Wolfi's Talks. And today we have a special guest, a friend over many, many years. And I just want to give a bit of a background, what you have achieved. You're professional since 2002. You're a trusted lead-out man of my German friends, John Degenkolb and Marcel Kittel. You're one of the most experienced and looked after road captains. You have been working with Alberto Condador, Richie Port, Vincenzo Nibali, Parker Mollema. You won Paris-Roubaix under 23. You participated in 2 times in the Giro Italia, 8 times the Tour de France, 5 times Vuelta. I calculated you cycled, or I stole it of cycling stats, 61,000 kilometers in France during racing, 28,000 kilometers in Belgium. You live now in Andorra. You have a restaurant called Gruppetta where you serve coffee and all kinds of food when anybody is there.
Yes, exactly.
When you asked who's your role model, you mentioned Hugh Hefner. I think we're going later.
Yeah.
You like to chill out playing Xbox, Warzone with the boys of your family. Welcome to the talk, Wolfi's Talks, Koen De Kort.
Thank you very much. It's very well informed. I like it. You found some interesting responses of mine to some questions. So well done.
Thank you. When I really enjoy doing all the research because when everyone has a super interesting story and you learn so much more and it was really good fun always to do the research for people. Just for people, when they're watching, we want to will prepare a clip that we can see how a regular day in your office looks like to get the first impression. I would ask Will to start the clip and you will tell us a bit about it.
Great. The lunch sprint crashes, but victories.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's a great clip.
Yes, thank you, Will. I think it's amazing to see, obviously, what's going on in the peloton and maneuvering through the cars. You mentioned once that you say it's like having a trailer on a car, and I know the German people always complain about the Dutch people driving on autobahn with the trailer going to Italy and so on. So I think you had a lot of training, but this is just unbelievable how you get through the peloton with somebody on your wheel.
Yeah, well, lucky for me, there's a Dutch car, but usually I've had a German trailer, so it's a little different. But it's great to see these images from the bike, because then you can really see what's going on. Like you can see it like on TV from the helicopter, and you can see sometimes it gets a bit argy-bargy, some elbows are flying, and but when you see it from the bike, you're kind of like more in the moment, and you can really see what's going on. And then that's you can also hear us, I guess, so that makes a lot of difference as well when you follow it. So I just have to always think about someone being behind me. So that's what I mean with the trailer. When I go through a gap in the peloton, I need to make sure that I know that there's still someone behind me. So I need to either make space or wait so this guy can follow me at that time. And when you go into a corner, sometimes you just go a little bit wider, so there's some space behind you, and it's just one of these things that with a lot of experience, I guess you learn.
Yes. You've been very, very experienced, obviously, and you're a road captain now since many years. And obviously, that's a lot of responsibility. You have ridden with the best in the world. it's sometimes making a call and making a decision is quite tough. And obviously you call the shots, and hopefully they work well. I heard as well, you prepare with Google Street View. You look at the courses and you're trying to find some landmarks. So how much preparation you put into every stage?
Yeah, quite a lot, especially like the stages that we have a proper chance with. So when it was with the sprinters, with Marcel and John especially, it's just like really looking up the final. So there's a role there for the directors. So they make sure that everybody on the team knows, that everybody on the team knows the plan, etc. I just really, for myself, I really want to know the exact sort of last 5 kilometers. So I need to know if I see this tower, then the corner to the right is another 300 meters away. So for me, I need to know that, and I need to really recognize it. So that's when the Street View really works very well, because you can see exactly what you're going to see later on in the race, and then it's just important to remember it. So I need to not only look at it once, but a couple of times, and then I tell the director what my plan is. Then we speak about that in the team talk before the start. So when we arrive at the start in the bus, we speak about it. They show the presentation that the directors have made, and then I give my idea, and usually I speak about that with John or Marcel beforehand. So they give their input, I give my input, and we get to a plan together, and we decide what's going to happen. We tell the rest of the team there at the start, and then I just need to make sure that it works out well. And then it's usually my call. If I think it's the time to move up, I call it and we move up. And very often it's the wrong decision, but it's better than no decision at all. So it's very rewarding when a few times in a row you take the right decision, and then I really feel like the victory is mine as well. Even though I'm not the one crossing the finish line with my hands in the air, I still feel like that victory is partly mine as well.
Absolutely. I love these pictures when you see the sprinter and you can almost see the lead out man is celebrating before the sprinter, because he knows he did the job right, and he got the person in the right spot at the right moment. You delivered him there, and okay, now it's almost no way that he's going to lose. And it's obviously with Marcel. I called Marcel before the talk, said, okay, give me a few stories about
oh no.
And he was obviously he's a big friend of yours and a big fan, and he said, listen, a lot of things dedicated to your performance, a lot of his success stories there. So he was very speaking very highly. And he said as well, you had a very important role as well in the team. You were as well in charge of the music in the team bus.
Yes, that's right. I was usually the one playing my music. I like music. It's not always what the other riders want to hear, but I've just, if you're the DJ, you got to play what the audience wants, so I don't always play exactly what I want, but I try to push him a little bit towards like the rock sort of side of the music. I think I succeeded.
So was Marshall more kind of a softy guy, and John, or how was the music?
Yes. Marcel, he's definitely a little bit more soft than me. So for sure, Marcel, I think he was pretty wide in his range of music. Even though just really heavy metal and stuff like that wasn't really his kind of thing. John, the thing I never understood. He loves to listen to like German rap and stuff like this, and I just I took away the room music liberties for him very quickly, because I did not really enjoy listening to German rap, so I took that away from him. But yeah, he does listen sometimes to some German language music, and apart from Rammstein and Toten Hosen and stuff like that, I don't really I didn't really have a lot of German music love, so to say.
I was actually at the Rammstein concert, and it was just unbelievable. Yeah, we traveled around. I went with Robert, and it was just a great show.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've never seen him live, but that's definitely something that
Yes,
that
you
I
should.
think would be great, because that is definitely a show. I mean, the music is good. It's interesting, but
Yes.
the shows. I mean,
Yes.
I've seen many of them on YouTube, of course, and they are great.
Yes. You can feel the heat when they put on the fire. It's amazing. Yeah.
There's always a lot of special effects and the costumes and stuff happening. So it's almost theater.
So let's pretend when the team bus before a sprint stage, we're preparing. What would you play for us? You have anything you could show us what you play?
Yeah, I mean, I love to listen right now, and when we go to races, a little bit sort of like a rock influence, so something that kind of pumps us up. I love Foo Fighters, so when it's like Learn to Fly, for instance,
Yes.
that's really one that I'd love to hear and play before a stage.
Okay, let's get in the mood then.
All right, let's see if we can play this. Here we go. I hope you can hear that.
Yeah, if you hold it a bit closer to the mic.
Not sure this is going to work.
Yes. Foo Fighters is great as well. I never saw a concert. Very good.
Yeah.
That gets the team in the mood. That gets them spiked up.
Absolutely. It's got a good rhythm to it. It got some good rock tunes, some guitar. So it definitely does get the team pumped up.
Very good. You were born in Gouda 37 years ago now, or 38?
Almost 38. We're only about a month off. Yeah.
So in Gouda, obviously famous for the cheese. I love the cheese. Do you know how to milk a cow?
Unfortunately, I didn't grow up on a farm, so I'm not sure how to milk a cow. But Gouda is also famous for the stroopwafels, the famous cookies.
Yes, very nice.
And I mean, I know how to eat them too, so that's very good.
Very good. Okay, cool. I didn't know that. I know obviously the cheese is famous, but I didn't know that stroopwafel is from. You put it in the coffee, isn't it? You dip it in the coffee.
Yes. Well, what you do is, you've got a hot coffee and you put stroopwafel on top, so it kind of like heats it through, and it gets a bit soft inside. And then you can either dip in the coffee or just eat it like that. I mean, it's a little bit warmer, and the kind of coffee fumes go through it. So normally that's already enough. That's the best way to do it, I would say.
Very good. You serve this in gruppetta. Maybe that's a good idea to.
Actually, we do. Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah, we do.
Very good. Fantastic. I want to take you back at the beginning of your career. How did you get into cycling? Who was your inspiration? Who introduced you to cycling?
So I started riding in 1996, actually. The Tour de France started in the Netherlands, in 's-Hertogenbosch. And the first stage passed my parents' house, so, where I grew up. And the week before, you could ride the whole course just as like a cyclo-sportive. And I decided to do that together with my father and a friend of mine. My father is never a cyclist. He loved to ride his bike, like pretty much everyone in the Netherlands. But he was never competitive. He was always a football player, but he loved watching it on TV. So I grew up with watching the Tour de France, etc., on TV. But I never really thought about one day doing it myself. I just enjoyed riding my normal bike to school, and I raced my friends on it, but I never really thought about racing, like proper cycling racing. And then the Tour de France passed my parents' house. I did the cyclo sportive. I enjoyed that because it was just something that I wanted to do with my father. And and when I saw them pass the house, I saw the Tour de France pass, and I went to watch a few more stages. Like I got my father to drive me around sort of Netherlands, Belgium, and a little bit into France, so he could follow the Tour de France for a few days. And then my dream was then to one day race in the Tour de France. So I'm pretty lucky that I managed to fulfill my dream that I got then. Very
good. And when you were racing the first races, was there any particular racer in your mind, and you were kind of dreaming to be this guy? Who was your idol when you grew up?
My idol when I grew up was Erik Breukink. That was definitely 100% my idol, and it kind of sort of shaped my decision going into the professionals as well, because he was my hero. He was racing for Team Once at the time, Spanish team. And when I was in my last year under 23 and I had a few good results, I informed if they would be interested in signing me. That team was then called Liberty Seguros, but yeah, it was always my dream to race for the same team as Erik Breukink did, and yeah, that's where I turned professional.
And did you meet him?
I met him several times. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, he was also working for Roompot there for a while. Unfortunately, that team has disappeared. But no, we spoke about it several times, and I even showed it. I when I was really young, I went to one of the races, and I got a signature, and I showed him that I still had the signature from when I was like 15 years old, and he was racing, and I still have the signature. It's in the Netherlands. I can't show you right now, but it's something that I'm pretty proud of, and we laughed about it for sure.
Very nice, lovely. Did you have a bike when you were growing up, and there was maybe a bike you always wanted to have and you couldn't get? Is there something in your mind you remember, a brand or a model?
No, not really. I didn't really have particular sort of taste for bikes. I mean, when I raced for the Rabobank junior team, they gave us a Colnago, and that was obviously already, like, at the time that was definitely the bike to have. So I was really happy with that. I just remember I always wanted Spinergy wheels, but okay. I still don't own them, and we're not allowed to race on them anymore. But I think one day I'll try to buy an old set of Spinergy wheels and
very cool.
Maybe build like a fixie or something. But I still want these wheels. They're still quite incredible wheels for me.
Very good. So when you had a long, like a Tour de France or any other events, you've been away from home and you come home, what's a dish you ask your mother to prepare for you yourself when you come home?
Good question. I love to just eat proper just chips, just hot fries, stuff like that. It's something that you can't really have that when you're racing. You can have some really nice food, some great pasta. We usually travel with a chef, so we got nothing to complain about the food. Like, the food's always really nice. We even get like a good steak sometimes, even though that's probably before a race, not the ideal meal, but before a rest day, for instance, that's definitely possible. And then when I get home, just fries are the best, and I love to have that, even though pizza is a good second.
Very good. Let me see. You had just switched my. Sorry.
No problem. Gives me time to have a drink.
Very good. When you race with the guys and you look at the numbers you have, are you racing with a power meter during these situations, or is it that you rather go by feel, or how much do you control it with your power meter?
Unfortunately, I have to say that I've really gone accustomed to watching my power at all times, really. You just get so used to it. I do it always. So when I'm training, when I'm racing, etc. When I'm obviously racing in the bunch, there's not a lot of time to look at it going into bunch sprints, etc. There's no way. You just got to go with the flow. You got to, race the peloton, race the other riders. But in time trials or in climbs, etc., then it's just easy to watch it, because you know what you can do. I know if the climb is going to be 30 minutes long, I know what average I can ride at, and yes. You can kind of like push yourself a little bit, but very often then it's probably a better idea to pace yourself, and because I know what my maximum power is for that time. So if I try to get that at the top, then it's safer than pushing myself and expecting an all-time record to try to hang on, because then the chances of you just blowing up are very, very big, and then you lose a lot more time, because then you suddenly lose the last couple of minutes of the climb. You might lose a few minutes even. So then sometimes it's better to pace. Having said that, I did one stage in the Tour a few years ago, and my power meter wasn't working, and I actually felt pretty good then. So maybe I should try to race a little bit less with it, So Sometimes I think a lot of cyclists are too fixed on it, me included. I'm not going to say that. We just watch the numbers too much, and eventually it might be a better idea to just race on feeling. And maybe that would even make races more interesting if we decide that. It's maybe a discussion for another time, but I think if we can't see the power we're doing, it might change the tactics and the feeling of races.
Yes, I've been in some team cars, and you're right that sometimes the riders know what is the distance and they know exactly what power they have to produce to close the distance for the breakaway. And if there would be a bit less control or less communication, it would go down to the road captain to control the race instead of somebody from the car and having a computer and knowing these guys are like 7-8 minutes ahead, and you just know you have to go 49 kilometers per hour and whatever. I thought that would maybe make the whole thing a bit more interesting. That's true.
Yes, no, absolutely. When you're going into a race and there's a mountain, I always just look at the Strava records. Of course, you can easily see it. Very often, it's got the power and everything with it, so you can see this climb is going to be 40 minutes long. The leader has got this much average watts for these 40 minutes. So then you know what more or less your power is going to have to be for this whole climb, and that's also how teams like Ineos or some of the other big leader teams, like I assume that we will do the same in the Giro, that we go into the races like that. You just set a pace that the leader can sustain until the top, and then no one can ride away, because who can ride much faster than Nibali up a mountain, or than Froome or Bernal? So you just set the pace, nobody can attack, and that kind of like controls everything that happens, and maybe makes racing a little bit more boring from a spectator point of view. But that's just how you win races right now.
Yes. Do you prefer a mountain stage, or you rather have the lead out train?
100% lead out train. Yeah, it's great. For me, it's a lot of fun to do lead out. It's really living in the moment for me. Very often after the finish, I can't even really remember what happened the last 5 kilometers. I really need to watch it back on TV, and then I can kind of piece together what happened. Like, even sort of, it seems like the memory is kind of almost turned off. There's no time to think. It's so fast. You're elbow to elbow with other riders, and I've got to think about so many things at the same time, and it's all reacting more than taking conscious decisions, and that sort of stuff you don't have in mountain stages. Plus, I think I'm a lot better at sprint stages, so maybe that helps too.
And what you're going to do after you maybe retire from pro cycling? What's going to give you the kick? Like the last 5 kilometers.
I'm a little bit scared of that. I'm afraid I might start to do like some motorbike stuff. There's a lot of motorbike races living here. I ride, I cycle with them a lot now. Yes. Because they need to train also, and they can't always train on the motorbike. And there's a few like MotoGP superbike races, but also like some Dakar motorbike races and stuff like that. But so maybe I already have a motorbike, and I want to get a trials motorbike so I can go up into the mountains, and it's probably better to leave that for when I retire, but I hope that I can get the kick from that as well.
Very good. What are the numbers you have to produce for the last couple of 100 meters? What's that we get? Most of the people have a power meter on their bike, so the last 1,000 meters to the finish, what's the numbers you're aiming to put out?
I would say my last 15 to 20 seconds are average about 1,000 watts. Wow. And before that, you're up really high already, of course, because going into the last kilometer, it's very fast. So I'd say we build up. It won't be under 500 watts much for the last couple of kilometers, and then when I do the lead out, it has to be around about 15 to 20 seconds, and I would average 1,000 watts for that for sure. And but coming off probably 500-600 watts for a while as well.
Yes. How much do you think is really hard work from training, and how much is your talent you got from your parents?
I think the talent you've got from your parents, as you say, is the genetics that you have, you know. So of course I can train really hard in my peak power and do all I can, lots of weight training, go to the gym, do lots of sprints in training, etc. But I'll never be able to beat Marcel. He probably still beats me now, even though he probably doesn't ride as much anymore as he used to. He just has that ability, but he obviously can also do much better when he trains, you know. And when you're in good shape, you can train that a lot. But I think, you know, when your genetics are that you're a sprinter, so you got a lot of like fast twitch muscle fibers, you've got the sprint fibers, you still need to train them, but you know, that's just something that you have, and that's hard to change. And then when you're a climber, I think that's definitely a little bit more pure training, because you just need to you know, you need to take up oxygen and burn that. When you're a climber, it's just a much longer duration, so I think that's a little bit more of the training side. But yeah, they just have to make sure they're as light as possible. And you know, there's a lot of things going into the different facets of the sport, for sure. But you know, genetics you need, but training is what gives you the advantage.
I think you mentioned once, I heard in the talk, that you were riding with Alberto Condador, and it was kind of a fight to go in the last mountain. And then you spoke to him and said, "Hey, was it hard?" And he said, "Yes, it's hard, but now the climb is coming and I can recover." And you
yes.
thought, "Oh my God, that's brilliant." Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I remember that actually. Yeah, I couldn't believe that. He always hated kind of going into a climb because it was fast, and then you know, he had to fight for the wheel. And then as soon as the climb started, I guess it was just much easier for him. You know, I started the climb, I was like, oh no, I still got to go all the way to the top. And yeah, for him, it was just like, finally, I can just relax and sit in, and it's going to be much easier. So that's just different, you know. But I guess that's why he's one of the greatest riders of my generation. So yeah, that's the reason.
2013, I just want you to take us back. 2013, riding with Marcel Kittel, Tour de France. I think you had an unbelievable Tour de France. You won so many stages, and there was one stage where I think you went in a bet with Marcel. If you win the stage, there was something on stake for you. What was it?
Yeah, I made fun of him in an interview, and it was even before the tour started. So I said in an interview with Australian TV even that because you know, they were saying like, oh, you guys, you're wearing like flashy sunglasses, and you know, I'll have your hair nice, like, is there something behind it? And I was like, oh, you know, we like the sunglasses, you know, we have a little bit of this feeling. And then yeah, some guys have just got a weird haircut, like Marcel Kittel, he's got some undercut or whatever he calls it. And somehow Marcel watched it, saw the interview even before the tour started. So he came into my room sort of like playing upset that he saw the interview, and was like, what are you talking about? One day you're gonna have the same haircut as me anyway. And I said, there's no way I'll ever have an undercut like hair like you. And then he said, what if I win 3 stages? And it's like, okay, if you win 3 stages, you can cut my hair exactly the way yours is. And of course he won his 3. He even won a few more in that in the end. So yeah, and then I had to do it. And I think even one of the first things he said when he won his 3rd stage was like, Koen's gonna have to get his hair cut in an interview as well. So I couldn't back out anymore.
Very good, very cool. So now you have been 18 years in the peloton. You're one of the most senior riders in the peloton. What are the privileges you have? So if you have to pee, everyone has to stop, or how does this work?
Oh, no. It doesn't work like that. I think I've got a lot of experience, so I can see a lot of things happening. Like I've almost experienced everything before in my life, even though, for instance, a situation like now with the COVID, I never thought I would ever experience. Nobody thought that. But no, you know, racing is racing, and especially the young guys, you know, they're hungry, and I think they got respect for me, but they still also need to race. You know, if I stop for a pee and they want to attack, then they're gonna have to attack. You know, I also respect that. But yeah, I think I I can help younger riders. I
Yes.
can also help the leaders just by having seen it all before and telling them what I think the best option for them is. What I think will be the best outcome in the end. And yeah, and I hope I can teach them a little bit in that way. And well, it's more of that than actual benefits for myself. So they don't give me extra space. They don't wait for me or anything. I still got to race my bike.
Very good. Do you feel there's something lost in the sport and something you should teach them? They need to bring it back. And is there something you've learned from the young generation of riders, which you thought is something special?
Yeah, I mean, everything develops, everything changes. When I first started, I mean, Lance Armstrong was still in the peloton. I raced with Jan Ulrich, and there's with Pataki. There was a different generation, and there was definitely a lot more. I think a lot more respect in a way, especially for some of the older riders. If one of these like Pataki or Armstrong or whatever said, there's not going to be any attacking now, then no one would attack, and it's kind of nice to have someone who is kind of the leader of the peloton and who can voice his opinion for everyone. But obviously there's also risks to it. So I don't think that we should go back to these times. And I mean, I don't really miss them, but it's just something that's developed, that has changed.
Yes.
And in the same way, I think I've learned a lot from the younger riders, is where, they have their opinion, they have their goals, and they go for it. And it doesn't really matter if
Yes.
one of the biggest riders in the sport tells them like, don't attack, they go like, who are you to tell me? I'm going to do it anyway. I respect that. And I think I've learned that there's no way that if Armstrong would have told me don't attack, that I would have attacked. I would have had definitely not dared to do that. But these younger guys do it, and they have the balls, so to say. And I do respect it, and I think I've learned from that.
Very nice. Is there a race on your list which you would love to win? Any favorite race?
Paris-Roubaix, I think.
Okay.
That's definitely still. I mean, it's such a beautiful race, and I feel like I've sort of semi-won it when John Degenkolb won it as my teammate, and then I won it with the under 23. So I've got the rock right here next to me. So from when I won it under 23.
Okay,
so,
you have it next to you?
Yeah. I can
Okay.
even reach it like this.
Yes.
So it's a small rock. So,
Wow.
but yeah, it's still. I mean, it's got a really nice spot here. I've got no other trophies or anything here in my lounge room, but that one's definitely always close and prominent. Just have the big brother one day is obviously, I'm now getting to an age where that's probably out of my reach, but I just really enjoy it when my teammates win, and when John won that Paris-Roubaix, that was just that was quite incredible. Yeah. I'm sure you were cheering for him as well.
It was crazy because I thought actually the gap was too big and he was just doing so much work, and I thought, no, that's too much. I mean, you can't do this after, I don't know, 240 kilometers and still closing the gap and jumping and racing. And everybody was, or I felt everybody was on his wheel and kind of taking advantage. And then he won that sprint. Just amazing. I was super excited.
Yes, yeah. For us as well, of course, that was a great season. Where first he won Milan-San Remo, and then a little bit later in Paris-Roubaix won again, and it was just really special because I mean, there's the pictures from the podium there where we were just watching him on the podium because we were so happy, and we wanted to be there and watch it, and then he invited us up on the podium. And I don't think that was ever done before, and we were there with the team on the podium lifting the trophy all together. It felt like a team win in a way, even though he was obviously one who just famously and incredibly managed to win it and beat the others. But there was still a lot of work going on beforehand, and I think as a team we did really well. And to get the reward of getting on the podium after that as well, that was very, very special. That I will never forget that for sure.
Fantastic. If you had a time machine, would you rather go to the future to see what the future lies, what comes for you, or would you go back to change a few things and look at it?
No, I have no regrets for anything I've done. I think maybe I've been not super lucky with, especially the time when I started racing with now the quite obvious lots of doping problems were about at the time. So I think a lot of the younger riders have got it a little bit easier than what I have had. But on the other hand, I got through it, and I think I can be really proud of the career I've had so far, and hopefully I can still do that for another little bit, not very many years, but maybe a little longer. And I enjoyed what I've done and what I've achieved. So I don't need to go back and do it again or change anything. I'm pretty happy with how it all panned out for me. So if I have to choose one of the two, I'll just have a look in the future and see what's going on. And I think I can probably make a lot more money with that too. So.
If you would give a tip to yourself, or if you had the chance to give yourself a tip 2002 from looking back at the beginning of your career and what you know today, and is there something you would tell Koen what he shouldn't do or should do?
Yeah, I think I would definitely tell myself to just trust myself. I ended up doing that in the end mostly, and I think I got through all the doping problems, etc., just by following my own sort of morals and whatever I wanted to do, and especially what I didn't want to do. And at the time, maybe that seemed like crazy because so everybody was using doping and I didn't want to do it. And right now I'm still a professional cyclist because I didn't do it. And who knows, maybe I could have won some races early on in my career, but then I wouldn't have been a cyclist anymore and probably regretted that immensely afterwards. So if there's anything I would tell myself is just trust yourself and your judgment and enjoy what you're doing, because when I look back at it now, there's some great stories, some amazing memories. Some really fun teams and great times with my teammates, and and I think I should maybe even have enjoyed that a little bit more, like consciously thinking about like what I was going through and how much fun I was having and how good it was. But I'm pretty happy with how it's all worked out for me. So I don't have to change much.
No, absolutely. You can be proud of what you have achieved over all these years. Fantastic.
Thank you.
And COVID-19, we just quickly, do you feel anything which we learned over these days in COVID? Would you have personally learned anything you would say, hey, I want to try to keep this going because I feel it was something good, what I got from it?
Well, I mean, it was special to be at home this much. I mean, especially being a professional cyclist for so long, and even before that, I was studying and living part-time in Amsterdam, part-time with my parents. So I probably wasn't at home for this long a period of time as I have been now since I was probably 16. So it's a very long time ago that I was at home for a couple of months in a row. It was in a way it was sort of enjoyable, even though it wasn't great because we were not even allowed outside of the apartment, and I was in the apartment here just completely by myself. But I did some cooking, some baking, like what everybody was doing. Cleaned up my apartment a little bit, stuff like that. I had some more time to do these sort of things, and especially energy to do that. But I'm really looking forward to getting on the road again, starting racing again. So I think, if anything, I've learned that being at home is not really the life that I want to have, even after cycling.
Yes. See, sometimes we wish, we want to be home and we want to this, and then we suddenly get it, and then we say, okay, maybe the life I'm living. And I think that's a nice thing if you can say, listen, the life I'm living is really the life I want to live, and that's really what I want to do. I think that's great if you can take this away. And I think we really appreciate this more, being on the road again. And I think we're going to see you next week again in action.
Yes, exactly. On the 5th of August, I start my season with Milan Torino. And it's been a long time of training. I think I've done my training really well. I feel ready to start racing. So let's see how well I've really trained. But no, it's going to be great to get with the boys again, and have that team feeling again. And if anything, I've really missed that.
Very nice. We spoke about Dubai before of the line,
Yeah.
and you have been here many times. You really enjoy Dubai. What's any favorite things you like about Dubai?
I think there's some really nice people. There's definitely yourself. We've been to the bike shop a few times. We've been hanging out, but Mark Shepard obviously is one of my good friends. I'm still in contact with him regularly.
Yes.
I've got a Dutch friend who's a pilot, Phil Cooper. He's great. So, whenever I go to Australia, which is every year, I try to make a stop in Dubai and have a bit of a look around, catch up with people. And, I've got some great memories of taking out four-wheel drives into the desert, and having some nice dinners and barbecues and etc. So yeah, I've got some really good memories of Dubai, and even the race I usually enjoyed. So
Yes.
yeah, there's definitely a nice spot for me there, and hopefully I can visit again very soon.
Yes, yeah, we hope to see you soon here again. Yes. Um, I asked my listeners as well. You have any strange habits or anything you people would say what you do? Something funny?
Um, I'm not sure. I don't think so. I don't really have anything like. But the only thing that I do is I always pin on my right number first, and that's kind of probably a funny habit. I've always done that, and it's not like I've ever started with the left one, then taken it off, and then started with the right. It doesn't go quite that far. But then again, I've always started with the right one, so I don't know. I don't feel like it's going to give me bad luck, but I still do it. So maybe there's one thing there, and otherwise I hope that I'm pretty normal.
Are you collecting something? You collecting anything?
No. I don't collect anything. I just collect memories really more than anything. I love to go on holidays, go to concerts or whatever. Like experiences are worth more to me than physical things.
Yes. Is there a person, a famous person, you would like to change your life for one day and live his life for one day?
Yeah. So we spoke about that before. It's good that you reminded me of that. We spoke about Hugh Hefner before, and that sounds pretty fun. In reality, it was also, you get so often with weird questions, especially at the start of the season, and you got to just do things, and the team asks you a couple of standard questions, and the same questions come back every year. So then one year I thought it was funny to fill in Hugh Hefner, but apart from it being a funny thing, I think it would be it would be quite nice to be that for a day. I definitely don't want to be that for my whole life, but just a day, I think that would be quite interesting.
Very cool. Very good. We're living obviously in Dubai since 20 years, and we can plan. Sometimes dreams come true here. So if you could pick a Tour de France team with the best riders, so obviously we want to win all the jerseys, yellow,
yes,
green, and the polka dot jersey, and you could be the team manager and pick the riders. Who would you pick for the three jerseys?
Well, yeah, that's a very good question. I think with Ineos, they definitely have a lot of the good climbers, so we're gonna have to take one or two from them just to make sure. I think Bernal is probably going to have his grip on the tour for a little while. He's still really young, and he's extremely talented, and it seems that he's got a really good head on it as well. He knows how to race and even how to go about with all the political stuff that's going on. Mm-hmm. Then I mean, it's hard to look past Peter Sagan for the green jersey, but still I'm going to go for John Degenkolb, of course. So John's going to have to win the green jersey then. So he's going to have to be there. For climbers, yeah, that's a good one. I'm going to say Ciccone from my team. I mean, he's still a young guy. He won the climbers jersey in the Giro last year. For as far as I know, he's just going to be doing the Giro again this year. So I mean, look out for him there. But I think if we put him in the Tour de France, he can win the mountain jersey there as well. So I think these should be the three guys that can win the jerseys.
And they need you as a road captain.
Oh, absolutely, of course. They can't win without me.
So you plan already a little bit after your career. You started your own restaurant in Andorra, Gruppetta.
Yeah.
So what's the favorite dish on the menu in Gruppetta for you?
For me, like what has always been my favorite dish that we have there, and or anywhere really in the world, it's like especially for before or after training, is the smashed avocado with poached eggs. That's always been my favorite, and yeah, I have to say I eat it quite a lot, a couple of times a week for sure. It's healthy, it's nice, it's got the right stuff to fuel for a bike ride or for recovery, with the proteins and the avocado, and I think that's definitely my favorite dish. So let's keep that one.
Very good. You said you run a restaurant like you run the road captain, you lead by example. So how much are you involved when you're in Andorra in the restaurant?
I'm there every day, not the entire day. Of course, I'm still a cyclist first and foremost. So I need to do my training and also make sure that I do my recovery enough. But yes. I mean, in general, I'll be there when I leave for training, so I just pop in to see everything is okay in the morning. If they have any problems or anything that I need to do, and then I do my training, like whether that is 2 or 7 hours. It's always somewhere in between, and then on my way back through, I stop in again, and then I usually have something to eat, have a little bit of a chat to the manager, to the chef. And see how the day has gone so far, and then after that, sometimes I'm there for 15-20 minutes, and sometimes I'm there for 2 hours. But there's always people I know in there as well, so I have a bit of a chat, and I think it's also important for an owner to be there, and I really enjoy doing that.
Very good. You studied sports movement before, and now sports management?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Still with a little bit of the idea of what I can do also after cycling. I love to stay involved in sports. It doesn't necessarily have to be cycling, even though obviously I've got a lot of experience there. I know a lot of people. So something in a management role with something to do with cycling or sports would be ideal, and especially just with the experience I have in the team, becoming a captain, which is sort of like a mini management sort of role anyway. I enjoy doing that, so I feel like that was for me the right thing to do, is just make sure that I've got the theoretical background as well, not only just the experience from being on the road. And then hopefully I can find a job when I retire that's going to give me the same satisfaction, and that I want to work as hard for as I do now for cycling.
Cycling, that's good. Do you feel there should be any changes coming from the UCI? Looking back now 15 years, you've seen a lot. What do you wish to see from the UCI to change in cycling, in professional cycling?
Well, I think as a sport, we really need to look at how we make money, and how we deal with the problems that we have. I think we even saw it even more now with COVID, where a lot of teams are struggling, and I think we need to all find a way that's going to move the sport forward, because I think the world is developing a lot quicker than the sport is, and we don't have a real I think a long-term a way of surviving as a sport. The way that the money is dealt with or distributed is not the right way. So I think that is the most important. I've definitely got no answers for it. I don't know how we should do that or how we should change it, but I think that's what should be on the top of the list for the UCI.
You think the races itself could change? Are the stages too long? As a rider, would you feel like it would be interesting to do 90, 100-kilometer stages to make them a bit more interactive? Or is these 200, 230-kilometer stages too long?
I think there needs to be a little bit of a combination of it. I think we have moved in the right direction with that right now. I mean, there's still a lot of people that really enjoy watching long stages, and for me that's fine. I mean, I don't expect a 12-year-old to watch a 200-kilometer flat Tour de France stage from start to finish. You know, it's for me it's good that they broadcast it and that people watch it. But I think if we were to really capture the younger generation, we also need to make some really short, like high intensity races. And for me, when I watch them on TV or watch them back, I think the shorter stages are more interesting anyway. So I think a combination of everything is good. Some people just love to watch the Tour de France because, you know, the helicopter shows some great images of nice French roads and chateaus, etc. And that's fine with me, you know. But if it comes to the racing, I think we just need to have a combination of it all to appease everyone, and then the younger generation can watch the longer stages, just the last half hour, and the short races, the entire thing.
Very good, very good. I have a few sentences which I would like you to finish. The best day of my career was?
The day that John won Paris-Roubaix.
Oh, that's very nice. Yes. Great day. The hardest day of my career was?
The day I had to pull out of the Vuelta. So it was the only Grand Tour I didn't finish. So I finished 5, as you said before, but I started one more, and unfortunately I had to pull out just a few days before the end because I had a crash early on in the race, and just had a couple of grazes, like really small ones actually, but I got an infection in it, and that I couldn't get rid of. And just a few days out, I got 40 degrees temperature, and I overnight I just felt really, really terrible. It happened straight after the stage, and the next morning I still tried. My temperature was down; it was normal again, but my legs felt like I just done 400 kilometers, and they just put me back on my bike and said, "Just do the stage now." And I had no chance of finishing, and for me that was really hard because, you know, I really wanted to finish that race. In the end, John again won even the points jersey, so I really wanted to be there and celebrate that. But I did all the work and didn't get to enjoy finishing it.
I can imagine coming to Paris the last couple of hours, Champs-Élysées. That must be an amazing experience.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, finishing a Grand Tour is amazing, definitely. Like whether that's in Madrid or Milan or wherever the Giro finishes, or in Paris. But you know, in Paris, it's just so iconic. You know, you kind of ride stage, you ride past all the landmarks in Paris. You kind of feel like you have finished the tour, but there's still one really important sprint coming.
Yes.
And then you get onto the Champs-Élysées, and it's but every cyclist, like every single one in that peloton has watched that from when they were really little, and always have probably dreamt of being there and racing there. And then you are there, and there's so many people on the side of the road. There's so much noise. I mean, you can't even speak to other cyclists because, you know, there's just too much noise. I think it's the closest that we can get to being in a stadium or playing football in a full Barcelona stadium or Madrid stadium, for instance. But then, you know, that's our big sort of spectator thing, and it's really, really special.
You were as well when Marcel won the last stage in Paris. You were in the team, and you came around with him the last corner, or what was your position there?
Yes, exactly. So I mean, I could still watch it back on YouTube, etc. And I do actually sometimes, because when I speak to someone that I've never met before and explain a little bit about, you know, what I do, it's always one or two videos I show of the onboard camera that we saw in the opening the clip as well here. And then the one where I go around the corner with Marcel on my wheel, and Marcel starts to sprint off my wheel and wins the biggest sprint victory that you can win every year. That's basically the Sprinters World Championship, winning on the Champs-Élysées. And for a lead-out man, the biggest you can get is if the sprinter stays on your wheel and starts to sprint from your wheel and takes the victory. So we knew we had a great plan, and it worked out perfect, exactly how we planned. And that was a really nice feeling. I definitely had that first row seat where I finished the lead out and I could sit up and watch him win the nicest of the stages in the tour. That was quite incredible.
Yes, I love that side view when you see the other two sprinters coming around. I think Cavendish and Sagan go around, and then they feel the wind suddenly, and you feel like it looks like almost Marcel is accelerating again. And then makes it unbelievable. Yes. Yeah,
Marcel is one of those rare sprinters who has kind of like a second acceleration. It's just like almost like he's trying to win the sprint at 90%, and then if he sees some others coming, he's like, all right, I'll go all out now then. Yeah. So it looked from my perspective as well. It's like, oh, I'm not sure he's gonna get it. It's like, oh yes, he is. Yeah.
Very good. Is there any other sports person or any other person where you would say that's my idol, that's my hero?
Well, no, I haven't really looked at other athletes and really thought, that I respect a lot of other athletes. But I love to watch basketball, but just to say Jordan, I think is a little bit, like 90% of the people will say that. So yeah, I love to watch basketball right now, and my favorite player right now is Kawhi Leonard. So let me say Kawhi Leonard.
Okay, very good. How many pull-ups can you do?
Oh, I don't know. I'll probably stick at about 8 or 9, I would say. I probably can't do a lot more than that. I can do a few. I've got some arms. Like, I'm not one of those real no arms, like bone sort of like cyclist, but I don't train it enough. It's just weight that as a cyclist you don't need. So training pull-ups doesn't really make much sense, but just from natural ability, I think I can get to 8 or 9.
Very good. Very good. As well, you have some pretty impressive tattoos. I think a lion and a gladiator.
Yes.
Any stories about the tattoos?
Yeah, I've actually got pretty much a whole scene, like a gladiator scene. I've got a few gladiators, a tiger, and then a lion. I've got Caesar, and it's kind of like developed into a big scene. But that came about because I kind of got addicted to getting tattoos, and they say when you get your first one you can't stop, and for me that was 100% true. The first one I got because I had a big crash, and I always thought about getting tattoos, but I never really wanted to because I was just afraid I was going to regret getting a tattoo. But then I crashed, took off all the skin on my right side. And then obviously, after a while, the skin grew back, but it didn't look the same. It had a bit of different color, had some scar tissue on it. So then I figured, it already doesn't look like my own skin anymore. So then I might as well put a tattoo on it. And at that time, like I never really knew what I wanted. And then I thought it was pretty fitting to get like a warrior that's just doing all that purely for entertainment, because I don't feel like a gladiator, but I saw the parallels between risking your skin and bones for entertainment, because in the end, entertainment, that's all we do. And I put it on some of that discolored skin, and I thought that's kind of like the perfect parallel. And then I got addicted to it, so I decided to make a whole scene out of it. But the original idea was that.
Any more plans to complete the scene or anything, or you're almost done?
There's always plans.
Always something.
Yeah,
So we keep
exactly.
you.
There's there's spots to fill in. There's places to go. There's ideas of what I want. So yeah, I don't think I'm done yet.
It's okay. So artwork in project.
Exactly. Absolutely.
And do you feel that that you over the years have developed this thing with falling and getting up and this mindset of overcoming this pain? You see, I'm always surprised when I see the guys going down and falling and then getting up. And how is this? How can you get up after such a crash and keep on riding?
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. You know, we do it, and it's just
Yes.
something that you kind of grow up with doing, because you know when you get first time on a race bike with the clip-in pedals, I think everybody's fallen over the first time. You know, I'm pretty sure you did as well. Like everybody does. So basically, your first experience on a race bike is one of falling over at some point. So you know you do get used to it, and it's terrible. And when it happens to you, you kind of just like assess the damage, try to get back on your bike and keep going, and hope that you didn't do some real damage. But you know, then when I watch it on TV and see some of my colleagues crash really hard and breaking bones and stuff, that's definitely hard to watch, because you know from experience how much that takes to come back, and you know everything you got to do with it, because you know you crash, you get put in an ambulance, and you know the next time people see you again is when you've gone through a long time of rehab, of you know training again and trying to overcome the injury. And you know that's definitely the hard part of cycling, and the not so fun part. But you know there's nothing else you can do about it. You know, you can either stop cycling or deal with that stuff as well.
Yes. If you would write a book about your career, what would be the title of the book?
There's actually a book written about me already from a few years ago, and so it's a little bit. It originally the idea was to write a book about just one Tour de France and what was going on, but then they kind of needed to tell the whole story. So I didn't write it personally. A writer, Thomas Seitzma, wrote it. And you know, I had lots of conversations with him. He came over to my house quite a few times. But it's called Koen De Kort, Racing for a Reason. And that's I think that's really fitting. You know, I just really enjoy racing a bike, and in Dutch it kind of means two ways, like racing for a reason, but also with your head. So you know, just thinking about things. So and that's, I think that's what really fits for me, that title. I thought that was really well written by him, and I like doing that. I like to think about things and try to make the sport better, and not just think about myself.
Nice. Do you have a favorite quote?
No, not really. No, I haven't really seen a quote where I really feel like I really truly believe in. Though a book that I've read, and it's full of great quotes, is a book by Coach John Wooden, and he is an old basketball coach. He unfortunately is not alive anymore, but he's written some great things about leadership in sports, and I think one quote from him that made a big impression for me was that great leaders take a blame and give praise. So I try to use that a lot in my role as a captain. You know, when something goes wrong and you just blame others, and when something goes right and you just say like, oh, I did so well. You know, that's then you're not a good leader. I think you need to do it the other way. And I think I've definitely learned a lot from that. By, you know, if something goes wrong, I say first what I think what I could have done better. Yes. And that opens the door also for everyone else to say like, okay, maybe I should have done this or that better, and then it would have been better for the whole team. Because if I start telling everyone like, oh, you've done that wrong and you've done that wrong, then they go like, well, what about yourself? You know, so I usually start with that, and that opens the door for everyone to be open.
That's very nice. This is almost my last question. It's what do you want to be remembered for? And I think you almost answered this now. Is there something you feel like as a person, if people will speak about Koen De Kort, this is what they should have in mind and that's what they're going to say? Is there anything which is particularly important for you?
Yeah, I hope that people will remember me for, you know, being an important part to a team. Just you know, that hopefully I've made enough of an impression on a lot of my teammates that they feel like without me they wouldn't have achieved the same thing. And I really enjoyed doing that, and that's also something that, you know, I hope I've always showed that I love cycling, and that I've always just shown that I love cycling, and that's something that I hope people will remember as well.
Very nice. And I have to say, I think you certainly did. And again, I spoke to Marcel, John Degenkolb, and people about you. And obviously we see how you race and how many years you have been in the sport. And you as a person, I'm lucky to know. So I think you did amazing things. And I think what you guys are doing is a gladiator. You're a gladiator. So it works really well. And we're really looking forward to see you next week racing again.
Yes.
I hope many more years, and then obviously sports management or a coffee shop or whatever will come. I'm sure you're going to
combination of things.
Yes. I'm sure you're going to be successful, and I hope we're going to see you soon in Dubai, and then we go out maybe with Mark
yes.
and have a nice dinner.
Yeah, exactly. That would be very good, and maybe a beer would be quite nice as well together.
Cool. I want to thank you very much, and I know you're just in preparation for the season. It's coming again, and we're looking forward to see you. And I want to thank you for your time. It was really amazing to speak to you. So thanks a lot.
Well, thank you very much. It was nice to catch up with a friend as well, even though there were a lot more spectators than we would usually have. But yeah, it was nice to speak to you, and hopefully we see each other soon.
Yes, thank you so much. Next week, Tuesday, are you much into mountain biking?
I like watching it. Yes, there's quite a. I mean, the World Cup mountain bike in Andorra is just right outside my apartment. Unfortunately, it's not on this year, but I like to watch it.
Okay, we have a special guest next Tuesday, the 4th. He's 11 times world champion. He won Olympic gold, silver, and bronze. You can guess. From Switzerland.
Nino
Schurter.
Yes, very good.
Excited.
Nice, that's great. Good guest.
Yes. I'm really excited that Nino has some time for us, and I'm really excited to speak to him. So we get a good list of people here. Yeah, so I think
wonderful.
I'm glad you're one of them.
I'm honored to be in that list.
Very good. Thank you, Koen. All the best.
Yeah. Thank you. Same to you.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you everyone for watching. Bye-bye.